So, ladies and gents, let's have a discussion about what is posture. Now, posture is paramount for the simple reason that your posture in this series of conversations and this series of videos that we're going to present to you describes the position that you're going to spend the majority of your time in. Now, the thing about it is that people have got different shapes for different duties. And this is perfectly normal. And it's also perfectly normal for a person to slouch at times, to stand on one leg at times, to fold their arms and take all sorts of positions that are not perfectly symmetrical. Because in fairness, the body isn't perfectly symmetrical because we all use our body in different portions, in different ways at different times of the day. And that builds into our bodies what we call an individual postural bias. And all that means is that you will have developed an efficiency on one side that you might not have on the other side. For that particular reason, the muscles might be better attuned to doing that activity. They could be bigger. They might even be smaller from the point of view of how you choose to do that activity. What you should take away from that statement is that perfect symmetry doesn't exist, but you need to try to create as close to that symmetry and balance as you possibly can. Now, what is posture? For us, posture is the position that when we are disengaged, when we are not doing something, is the position that has the minimum amount of muscular engagement. In other words, the position that you can stand or sit in that has the minimum amount of energy required to keep you in that position. Now, a lot of people think that posture is similar to a military type stance where it's very forced, very contrived, and a lot of effort. If there's effort involved in your posture, you're not quite doing it right. It should be effortless. It might take you a little bit of time and a little bit of focus to try to tune into what your posture is. But the posture that you're pursuing has the minimum amount of engagement. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if I stand in a position where I'm slightly forward in my stance, my body reads this as if I'm falling forward. Now, if anything has to fall and be stopped, something has to engage it and hold it. In our cases, when I go forward, the muscles up my back and at various other parts of the body are now dedicated to trying to hold me in this position, which costs a lot more energy than it would if I was in this position, but a lot less energy than it would if I was in that position. So the point is that once we go forward, our head, for instance, which weighs in and around 12 pounds, if I go an inch forward, I increase that by 10 to 12 pounds. By the time I am in iPhone position, we're plus 40 pounds of pressure all around that neck, all the way around the front, and all the way across the shoulders and down the back to try to sustain that heavy head. What we need to do is understand that the position that we should live in is what we're going to call poise and posture. The position that we can visit is the one that we might choose to do when we're looking at a product in the form of a smartphone or a tablet or a book, or if we're chopping an onion or whatever it is that you like to chop in the kitchen. But the bottom line is you can only visit this shape with efficiency so long as you've been living in this position. Because this position costs you the least amount of energy, when you do get to do this particular activity, you've got energy saved up in the bank and musculature ready to support this activity. And when you're finished this activity, you go back into your charging cradle and you hold yourself in good position and you sit in good position so that you can essentially work towards the next activity that you wish to do. Remember, we have a very simple equation that we need to look at every single day. And that's the rate that we regenerate versus the rate that we degenerate. Now, we want a situation in place all the time that the rate that we regenerate is higher than the rate that we degenerate. If that changes, you end up with aches, conditions, diseases, and all sorts of other problems. So we always stay on the side of our body's ability to regenerate itself being superior and more efficient to the part that degenerates it. Now, going for a beautiful, simple walk has got a cost. It takes from the musculature insofar as it causes wear and tear. Now, there are a huge amount of benefits in going for a walk, and we promote going for a walk. But my point is that you make a decision that by going for a walk there will be that cost. But because your return and your actual capability to regenerate is so high, you can accept the cost of the walk for all the benefits that come from the walk. Now that simple concept should permeate through to every single thing that you choose to do. You want to go for a cycle, you want to go for a swim, you want to read the paper for an hour, you have to offset the cost to the benefits. And if the benefits supersede the cost, you're in good stead. However, if you can improve that ratio by improving how you do that activity, well then the benefits are higher and the cost is less, and that's where we want to go. And understanding posture and poise is the perfect way to achieve that. Now, I want to show you how we can calibrate ourselves. Now, I'm going to call this a calibration because sometimes people think this is an exercise. This is not something that we want you to do 3 times and stop and forget about it. This is something that we want you to do once, do it well, and then later on do it again once and do it well, and continue to observe this postural calibration until you've helped create this shape within your postural practice management. Now, the exercises and the modalities that I am giving you all go to serve helping your body to create this shape that I'm going to talk to you about. But the fact is, if you have an old habit that looks like this or some version of that, you're more familiar with that shape than the one that I'm trying to show you. Because of this, you will only change from an old habit to a new habit if you spend more time doing the new thing than you spend doing the old thing. So it's very important that you understand that what I'm going to show you, if you really want to change your posture for your benefit, in conjunction with the lovely exercises that I give you, you have to practice this, and you've got to make a commitment to practice this. And one of the best ways to do that is to set a little reminder for yourself, which I can talk about at the end of this video. Let me show you what it is that I'd like you to do. You simply stand with your feet about shoulder width apart. Now, you simply then turn your palms to face the ceiling. Now, when I turn sideways and do this, you will see that when I turn my palms to face the ceiling, my chest lifts a little bit and opens up. What we are not doing, and it's very important to understand this, we are not pulling our shoulders back. That position requires effort. If it requires effort, it's overwork, and if it's overwork, it's costing us more energy than it should. The position for the posture that I talked to you about should be relatively effortless. It'll take practice, but when you're in the position, it has the minimum cost to you. You turn your palms to the ceiling and you look up ever so slightly so that your eyes are slightly above your own eye level. You inhale as you bring your hands up over your head, as high as you can get them. Now, this is not as high as I can get my hands. I'll move back a little bit further so you can see. I want to get my hands right up, up, as if I'm hanging from a bar. Now, in this position, as I said, I inhaled, and you can see the quality that that creates in my stance. What it does is, as if I am hanging off a suspension, I have been lifted up as high as my body can go so that everything underneath my body falls into alignment, and then I sustain that position for a moment, and then I let my hands relax back down, and now I have the qualities of what this activity has brought to me, which should feel effortless and suspended, as opposed to contracted and held. So let's look at that again. We turn our palms to the ceiling, we look up ever so slightly, we inhale and lift, and we relax back down and rest. Now, sometimes people do the last part of this a little bit wrong, and let me turn sideways and show you what they do. When they choose to bring their hands all the way up, they do this part lovely, and then they think the exercise is over, and they let their hands just flop down, and they drop back into the old shape. That doesn't help. So one more time, palms to the ceiling, up we go, inhalation, rest and relax, there's the shape, and from here go for a walk around the room or whatever space you're in to try to feel what it feels like to be in this position. How do you know if you're in the right position? Well, when you're stopped, you should roughly have about 65% of the weight on your heels, 25% on the ball of the feet, 10% on the big toe. And that's when you're stopped. There's very different foot weight ratios when you choose to walk around the place. But in this position, when you lift like this, When you come back down, you're looking for 65% of the weight on the heels, 25% on the ball of the foot, 10% on the big toes, and that is your configuration until you choose to walk, which changes it, because as you choose to walk, what's happening is you're leaning slightly forward and you change that dynamic. That's okay. But when you stop in your walk, you should be back to the 65, 25, 10, and that's a lovely way for you to ascertain if you're in that beautiful minimum engagement position, your recharge position, the position where your posture is paramount. Enjoy that, and we'll be back to talk to you again quite soon. Bye bye now. Good afternoon. This is the addendum to the Posture is Paramount video. This is where we discuss how you actually make this a habit for yourselves. The simplest way to do this activity is get a countdown timer for yourself. You can use your phones, you can use something around the house, but ultimately set it to go off 20-minute to half-hour intervals. Doesn't have to be a loud audible alarm, something silent even, just so that you can hear it is more than sufficient. The point is, at 20-minute half-hour intervals, you perform your activity, okay? You take that lovely straight postural calibration, put it in place, and then try to keep it in place for the 20 minutes, half-hour that you've got until the alarm goes off the next time. What will happen is you will notice that as this alarm goes off, particularly in the first day, that you're in the wrong shape quite a lot. And this is a really nice way to identify the fact that you're spending a lot of time in the wrong position, far more than most of you will be aware. When you get to the point when the alarm is going off and you are still in the right position, because you're now starting to integrate it, it's starting to become a behavior for you, well then the good news is you increase the gaps between your alarms, bring it out to 40 minutes or 45 minutes. And the same principle applies. You continue to run that sequence until essentially you get to a stage whereby the alarm is going off and you're still in good poise and posture. It goes out to an hour. Now, even when you feel that you've mastered your poise and your posture and that it is a behavior, a patterned physical behavior, I still suggest to you that 3 times a day you switch on that alarm to go off and make sure that when it goes off you're in the right shape. Simple situation. If you are in the right shape, pat yourself on the back, wait for the next alarm to go off later on that day. However, if you're not in the right shape, it's an indication that you're starting to slip into poor or dysfunctional habits, maybe all habits. In that situation, you need to decrease the gaps between the alarms again to get yourself back on track. It is often a case that a person works at this very well at the beginning. They get their posture into a beautiful, efficient, practiced management. Then after a couple of months, they start to drift out of it, and before they know it, they're back into a dysfunctional pattern and they end up with pathology, aches and pains, all associated with that postural abnormality. Let's avoid that. Let's stay on top of this. Let's focus this. All the exercises that I'm going to give you will feed into helping you take this beautiful posture, will feed into helping your natural movement be as productive for your lymphatic system and all of your systems, and largely will serve you on a day-to-day basis so you'll feel so much more comfortable and so much more efficient. One more question I was asked. How do I take that standing position into a chair? What you do is you take cognizance of the type of chair you're going to get into. If you're going to lay back into a lazy boy type chair that has full support around you, well, lay back there because the chair is now offering you support against gravity. The same when you lie flat in your bed. Lay flat in your bed and trust that the bed will support you in that position. Now there is good sleeping positions, we can talk about that some other time, but for now the objective is learn what your straight shape is supposed to be and bring it to all of your activities, including the chairs. Now the chairs that I refer to, however, are like a kitchen chair or a bench chair where the chair is not supporting you. It is up to you to take the shape that you've got and put it into the chair. How you do that is you once again palms up, hands up over the head while standing in front of the chair, take the shape and then simply sit back down and put your bum and backside into the chair, and that in turn identifies how you should sit in the chair efficiently. It is essentially the same thing as what we demonstrated when we were standing. The only difference is now instead of your feet being on the floor being your primary contact with gravity, it is your 2 bum bones being on the chair that is now giving your upper body structure. There's a whole dialogue that we can have on chair ergonomics. But again, what we want to do is give you something nice to work with for now. And that is it. Regular intervals, hands up over the head for your standing and general sitting position. And when you're in a nice comfy chair, be in that comfy chair, enjoy it. When you get out of it, don't carry the shape of the chair with you. Always go back to your postural paramount position. Enjoy good poise. Bye bye now.